Welcome in, everybody, to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about my brother-in-law, Jake Thomas, his very first single disc golf tournament. So I'm sure the nerves were a little high.
They were, Jacob, they were just a little bit, but, it was a good time. We were surrounded, with friends and family. And so it being in the rec league, it was a little more casual, but still nerves were a little high, but a lot of fun nonetheless.
Yeah, as you guys can tell from the title of this video, this was the Stillwater Classic held in Stillwater, Oklahoma on October 17th. It was a 2-round, 1-event tournament where you played 1 round at Hoyt Grove Disc Golf Park and 1 round at Boomer Lake Disc Golf Park. And so Jake teed off at 9 a.m. or 9:15 a.m. at Hoyt Grove.
Yeah.
And there were 44 participants in his division. This was the highest attended Stillwater Classic that they ever had. 144 total people, which is awesome. It's really cool to see the Stillwater disc golf scene growing, and hopefully it continues to. And yeah, we're going to get into his front 9 round here. And who are you teeing off with today, Jake?
For my first tournament, I'm teeing off with a great card, Brandon Purdy, Austin Green, and Devin Shiplett. We met up earlier on, while we were kind of getting some practice strokes in and got to talk to them at the beginning. It sounded like they were all fairly new to the scene for it, and so I was really excited to be able to share my first game with them.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of added pressure having the cameras on you guys, but they all said they were cool with it. But I think the nerves were probably a little high for everybody whenever we teed off.
A little bit. The cameras kind of added a little bit to it. It was really cold at the beginning, very, very windy. I mean, we'll see it throughout the video. But like you're saying, the tournament itself was huge. It was awesome to see that many people at Hoyt Grove. I never thought I'd see that many people at, a disc golf course I'd played all throughout college. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So let's get into it. So for starters, we want to thank the Stillwater Disc Golf Club, El Tapatio for really hosting this for us, Innova and Millennium Disc Golf for both sponsoring it as well. And yeah, there was a whole sponsor for every single hole. Unfortunately, I forgot to take pictures of all of them, but thank you to everybody who helped make this event possible. To start out here, it was a shotgun start. Jake started out on hole 15, which is a pretty short little par 3. It's about 220 feet. I think I just had that up there for you guys, but it does, or 216 feet. Plays a little bit downhill, so it's a little bit shorter, but there's definitely some trees and some obstacles in the way that you need to miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you're saying, it's fairly short and it's downhill, so I mean that kind of adds to it a little bit. There's a creek behind it. You could either go right down the middle, maybe have a little hyzer on the right, or with what a lot of my card did is they tried to hit that left gap with more of a forehand hyzer line to kind of try to get to dive in there right next to the basket. You can see the first couple guys, whether it was kind of cold, we weren't loose yet, they kind of went to the left side of the fairway.
It's a little tricky. It's a touchy shot. Brandon teed off for us first there in the blue hoodie. Austin went after him there in the red polo, and then Devin's going to round out the tee-offs here.
I know. I thought I had a really good shot. I actually always aim at that tree when I play this course, but I actually hit it. I didn't. Usually I don't hit what I'm aiming for, and so I hit it right on, and I was kind of short after that.
Yeah, Brandon's pitch out here ended up really well. I cut out the audio, but I'm just begging for that to sit down because you just hate to see it.
I know.
Like that.
He had such an unlucky roll coming off of it. I was just trying. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I missed Austin's pitch out there, but he ended up right underneath the basket as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe I didn't. Good run from Devin there. Unfortunately, it didn't fall, but it was a good run from back there.
I know, especially right here. This is one of the few opportunities you have to be able to putt without the wind, since we're kind of down on this goalie. And there's just a great putt from Brandon. You'll see kind of throughout the day, he's a nice spin putter. He doesn't leave a lot to chance with the wind.
Yeah, I really like Brandon's putting stroke. That was one of my big takeaways from his game. Now, just a disclaimer, you guys are going to see a lot of spit outs today. The wind not on this hole, but the wind is going to play a factor into some of these putts later on. As unfortunately Devin doesn't get that one to go. There's going to be a lot of that, mainly because of the wind today, unfortunately.
The wind was definitely a factor. I think, you can come in with a game plan. You think to play the wind, but really whenever you're staring it right in the face, it's a whole different breed whenever you're out there.
Hole 16 here is a 334-foot par 3. You've got a gap pretty much right through the middle. It's a fair-sized gap, but the trees will definitely come into play if you lose control of your shot a little bit. You definitely have to throw a controlled drive, keep it low to avoid the tree ceiling, and as you can see from this walkthrough that we have here, it does open up to give you a nice landing zone.
Yeah, right there, Brandon just threw a little too much ante on his forehand trying to get out of there. He had a good game plan going into it. You'll see Austin kind of throw a very similar shot here, where he actually gets to sneaks by that first tree and gets a good distance up the fairway, really close to the basket.
Yeah, I'll take Austin's drive every single time on this hole. I really struggle to keep it low.
Oh, 100%. I just watched both of those guys throw an ante forehand, and I don't have one, but for some reason I thought I could bring it, and I just turned it over too much.
Devin here he's a lefty, which took me a few holes to figure out, but he gets a good little skip that puts him right up there about 15 feet from the basket, which is definitely where you want to be.
Oh, the ground play on that one was incredible. We were talking about that from the tee box.
This one gets away from Brandon just a little bit. The wind was definitely pushing that. You can't really tell yet, but the wind is there at this point. It's going to pick up even farther, but it's affecting these discs a little bit more than you can see this early on. But just be aware, it is there.
I know. I tried to kind of let it fly out a little further to the right, thinking it would really, really push it, and it pushed it further to the right, not to the left like I wanted it to. Good upshot by Austin. Just smart with this wind right here, just to try to get close to the basket instead of really trying to run it.
Yeah, you could kind of see there for a second as Brandon gives that a run, and from my angle, I thought that was going in.
I thought it was going in too. Like you're saying, he honestly is a great putter.
We have a gallery. This was probably the biggest gallery out of all the cards that anybody had throughout the day. We had 2 cameramen, 1 guy taking photos, and my wife and Jake's wife came later on. Austin had a caddy, and Jake, your friend Sam, was there too. So it was a good time. We had a good day.
It was a lot of fun. I think that that helped make the tournament a little bit. Just kind of having everybody around, especially for the first, my first tournament. The support, you could see it. You and James both running the cameras, Cade taking pictures. It was awesome. It was just a fun experience for the first time. And you could see from my putt, I tried to give it a run, and unfortunately I just hit the top of the basket, so it kind of skipped away. So I wasn't able to save par on that one. I ended up getting a bogey.
Devin was the only one who got par here, as the rest of the card cleans up their bogey putts, and we're off to hole 17. It is a 350-foot par 3. It's a pretty tricky hole. You could kind of see it there from the start, but there is a low ceiling right off the tee box that you have to miss. They've done a lot of maintenance on this course to where they've taken a lot of that out, which is awesome. It really helps. But here's kind of the landing zone. You obviously want to push it further, but a lot of drives tend to land kind of around here, even farther to the left. It's a really fast green because of these pine needles. So if you do throw something kind of skippy, there's a chance you can get a big skip off the ground. And you don't want to run your putts too hard for that reason as well, because it'll just keep scooting away. But yeah, here we go on hole 17. Devin starts us off, and that's the trees that I was talking about that you got to miss.
I know.
All right, you got to keep it low. It's a further shot for a forehand, so you're trying to run it. You're trying to give it a big throw, but you got to keep it low right off the start.
You're completely right. This is a very touchy forehand shot. You have to give it a lot of power to stay under that low ceiling, and in doing so, there's not a whole lot of room for error. You see Austin honestly has one of the best ante forehands I've seen in a while. It was really cool to be able to play with him and kind of see that. And he was able to kind of skirt around the tree. And I just tried to keep it low. And I feel like I gave it a good push, but just I kept it too low to where I couldn't actually get the full flight of my disc to bounce more towards the basket like we were talking about.
And Devin's shot there is a classic case of first-time cameraman, James and myself. James was very much in the way of Devin's line right there, and so we addressed that and tried to prevent that from happening again. But I can't help but think that Devin would have had a little bit better of an upshot if James wouldn't have been there.
I just love watching him throw lefty. I'm just not used to that shot. So every time I see him let go of it, I expect it to go the other way. And Brandon with a very nice, very touchy forehand, like you were talking about those pine needles. You got to be really careful with it.
That was a pretty good bid from you there. You were running that.
Of course, Jacob.
Austin drops right into the basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great recovery layup from him after hitting that tree. Just to be able to, clean it up very nicely. And a great putt from Devin. Yeah, from Devin.
Yep, that was a tester. There's a little bit of meat on the bone there. Took his time, sank it. Great putt. Brandon took his time on his putts too, and most of the time it paid off like it does right there.
Mm. Have you seen Kyle Klein putt, Jacob?
No, I couldn't tell you what he did. No,
it's all right. It just Brandon's putt reminds me so much of that. He just has so much faith that he's gonna just absolutely pure the disc right in the middle of the basket. So he just gives it a good run, just like Brandon does.
Did yours get a little skip off the top of the basket right there?
Hey, we don't need to talk about that. It's all right. It was a little closer than I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it looked like it was a little sketchy. Hole 18, everything on the course is a par 3 today. Hole 18 is one of the hardest for me to birdie. It is definitely a forehand throw for a righty unless you've got a great turnover backhand. You just really have to get a big skip. You have to push it straight for a long ways until you get that fade, and then you need it to fade big time. So it's one of the most challenging holes on the course, in my opinion, because you do have to have a low ceiling, and there's tons of trees you have to miss. And that was a great drive from you. I'd take that 10 out of 10 times.
Thank you, Jacob. I hit my line pretty well. Like you're saying, it's a similar forehand approach shot as the last hole, and I still can't believe Devin made it through those trees right there.
Yeah, that was sweet.
And it's awesome.
Over a little bit. It unfortunately faded back to the left for him, but if he could have kept that turning over the whole way, it would have been great.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and right there, Austin just hit the last tree he needed to beat to be able to have a really good skip and get a lot closer to the basket.
Brandon's got a pretty good look here. He's got that one tree that he's got to miss, probably about 100 feet out, and just drops it right underneath the basket. Great.
Yeah. Beautiful shot, especially with that hill right behind it. He had no fear. He really trusted his disc. And just little nose up, catching those pine needles up top.
The whole graphic was pretty brief, but there is a creek right behind the basket that you might be able to see here. No, not quite. Great upshot by you, by the way.
Thank you.
So you got to be careful not to run it too hard. It does play as casual, so there's no hazard or OB strokes for it, but it comes into play. You've got to be thinking about it.
Great upshot by Devin right there.
Really,
man. Yeah,
all you guys right there. That was good stuff.
I know, it was good to see everybody get close right here, because I've definitely had a few heartbreakers, go down that hill before, and it was nice to see nobody else do that.
Devin's gonna tap, or Austin just tapped in his par, and the rest of the group is gonna tap in their. Austin just got his bogey.
There we go.
And the rest of the crew's tapping in their pars. What were we talking about right there?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think I was thinking about throwing in my my marker for my putt instead, and I was like, that's a bad idea. I shouldn't do that. This hole is in my nightmares, Jacob. This is a pretty beefy hole as a hole. 430 feet. You have to make it through this tight tunnel right off the bat. I like to go with the forehand, but then after that, you still like you've been saying, you have a lot of meat off the bone afterwards, and you still have to get a nice upshot with the wind absolutely wreaking havoc up there.
It's a very long hole that you have to throw. Like, you have to peer it through the gap and then hope you can get as much distance as you possibly can. It plays as a par 3 in the tournament. If you just go on UDisc, it plays as a par 4 just because it's so challenging. There is a Mando left of the tree there on the right. If you miss that Mando, you didn't see it, and you're trying to throw a hyzer around. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. Not easy to miss, but it's in your mind. It's there. And there you see Brandon take that hyzer route I was talking about. trying to get around, just kind of get out of all that junk and give him a clear shot at his upshot.
No, even if you hit an early tree on here, man, that just continues to punish you. It's the ceiling's just so low, the trees are scattered about. The best thing you can do is just really try to pure a gap and just hopefully get enough distance to be able to usually save par, but in this case, most likely get a bogey if you hit an early tree.
Yep, a bogey is not a bad score on this hole, especially with the wind today, and it is such a tight gap. It's one of the hardest tee shots on the course.
As you saw the wind right there, I threw my Luna. Usually that disc is just so straight for me, and I threw it right at the basket, and at the end, the wind just took it for a ride. Just really brought it left. And Brandon, another great upshot.
Devin here.
See it just drop right there.
Yeah, he said he threw an understable disc there because he felt the tailwind, and textbook execution there. And you kind of hate to see this, folks, but that is the smart play. You can see the wind in the background. You'll see a lot of laying up. Maybe not today, maybe some more on the card at Boomer, but that is definitely a smart play because that right there can happen.
You know, it's something you don't want to do. You never want to give in to the weather. But like even right there with Austin, it's something you kind of have to do to try to save your scorecard, because the variability with your disc and what it's going to do in the air is just, you never know. But great comebacker right there from Brandon.
Impressive putt right there, because that was no gimme. As short as it looks on the camera, those are one of the ones that still my heart if I'm the one having to execute that putt.
No, and that one's directly into the wind too. So kudos to him on making that putt. Great mental fortitude in his game on that one.
Brandon's going to walk away with a double bogey. So is Devin, and then Austin and Jake card their bogeys here, and just try to forget this hole and move on to. This
course took no prisoners today, Jacob. If you gave it a chance to, it would take you for everything you had. Hole 2 is honestly one of my favorite holes out here. This is your first chance to actually kind of grip it and rip it. And with this wind, it's just a very wide open shot until you get closer to the basket, and then it's just absolutely covered by trees.
360-foot hole. There is a path on the right that plays as out of bounds, so you don't really have to worry about that unless you start to push it long. That path starts to wrap around behind the basket, unless you just have a really errant tee shot. So you don't really have to worry about that a whole lot. Here we see Devin with his stock forehand.
Yeah, you could see Austin elected to go with that flippy forehand shot that he likes to throw to get a lot of good distance with it, but just with the wind, it took it and never quite gave it a chance to kind of come back.
And Brandon's there. I can't help but think on a clear day that one does what he wants it to do. I don't think that disc quite reacted the way he was planning on it. Kind of there too. I don't know. I can't help but think that if the wind wasn't blowing, that those two shots look a lot differently from him, because he's a more experienced player that knows what his discs do. But unfortunately, the wind today, man, you're going to hear it say it a lot. You're going to get tired of it. It sounds like excuses, but we just want you to know that it was a factor. It changed some game plans today.
No, she was there in full force. As you saw from me, I got a very fortunate tree kick. I would have thrown it long, but it ended up settling right next to the basket. And then Brandon with his jump putt lays it up nice for about a 5 to 10 footer.
Austin gives his a run, finds the front of the change, just kind of sits down, doesn't get the bounce that he wants to go into the basket. And then we get to watch Brandon's putting clinic here. Another tester. There's a lot of meat on the bone right there.
You're right. I said 5 to 10, but it's definitely a lot further than that. But look at that.
Right into the right side of the chains. Great catch by the basket and great putt.
Good putt by Devin to clean up the hole.
Brandon's going to walk away with the bogey. Devin carded his par. Austin's going to walk away with the bogey. And Jake's going to get his tap in for par there. A little bit more than a tap in. But
anything with the wind right now felt like more than a tap in. This hole, the Mando's to the left of this, this tree right here up to the right. For me, it's just a hard forehand. There's a creek that runs directly in the middle of it. You try to keep it low, not get affected by the wind like mine is doing right now. But luckily, this day, the creek did not play OB. It was honestly like it wasn't there, like it was dried out. And I was very, very glad to see that.
Yeah, that's what Jake was joking around about right there. They had just talked about that before he teed off, and so he was happy that they had decided,
Yeah.
or agreed that wasn't OB. That wasn't their own ruling. That's how the hole played, but they definitely addressed it before everybody teed off.
Mm-hmm. I think overall mine ended up landing, it was like 2 or 3 feet on the other side, but just Austin right here, a lot of trust in his disc, and if he would have got the full flight from that, that would have been a real beauty. You could see from his face.
Brandon gets his to push really, really deep right here. You can, from the catch cam, you can tell how deep that actually pushes. It's farther left than he wanted it to, but he got up there.
He launched it. It was nice to kind of see his disc actually kind of get more of the full flight with that forehand, and he got some really good distance on it. It was great to see.
Austin's upshot here lands probably about 15 feet. Would definitely like to be closer, but still very formidable upshot. There's Jake from the other side of the creek. Were you running that?
Believe it or not, I really was. I was kind of at an angle and kind of going uphill. I thought I gave it enough, and when I let go, I was like, oh, there it is. That was pretty solid, and then it just landed right at the base of it. So, nothing today is a gimme. He's like you said, he still had a little bit left on it, but with the wind in the back of your head the whole time, almost everything's kind of a little harder than what it should be.
Yeah, until you get a couple of those to go, it feels like there's a lid on the basket or something like that, just in it. But after you get a couple of those to go, you kind of loosen up a little bit and give it a little bit more confidence and a little bit more power. Yeah,
I should have been like Brandon. He didn't let the wind affect his putt, and he just kind of went for it. And I think that's a good example of one method to putt successfully in the wind. Just keep your disc flat, give it some power, and just drive it.
What putter is that you're using? That orange putter? Is that an AVR?
No, I use a P1X. I've used that for a couple of years now. I just love the way that bead feels on my finger, because I putt for feel more than anything else. I think all putters are similar within 25, 30 feet, and I just love the way it feels.
On to hole 4 here. It's not a tricky shot, I would say. It's 250. It feels a little bit longer than that in my opinion, but you kind of got to keep it low because the trees come into play as you see them kind of swat Brandon's down right there. There are some trees to miss right off the start. I think they may have got into Devitt's head a little bit right there as he kind of just left that one low. But it is a par 3 like everything else on the course, and you see Austin give this one a run. A great drive.
Austin threw it how you want to throw it. That left side has a few trees you kind of have to weave around, but definitely if you can get the left side of the fairway, let your disc kind of just trust it and bounce up to the skip up to the right, you can generally get a birdieable putt like he had a chance for.
Yeah, I kind of lost that one right there. That tree spot behind the tree there.
I mean, another note, just these pine needles again. This whole course is covered with them right through here, so generally anything you throw is gonna be pretty skippy.
Yep, very skippy. Brandon giving that a hyzer run.
Yeah, a good bid. It
was close. Here's your run here, hidden behind the trees a little bit.
No, I tried for the most part to just try to keep everything close to the basket. I generally didn't want to run it too much. The wind was just kind of always pushing it, so I tried to keep it low. And you can see these putters right here. None of them are really sitting. They're all kind of spinning out a little bit, and just right there, just left side of the change, just kind of kicks it out a little bit. Not something he wanted to see, but I mean, he had a great drive on this hole.
Yeah, that's definitely a birdie he would like to get back. Good putt from Devin there with his judge. I don't know what Brandon's putter was.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. And me and Brandon were pretty close right here to one another on our upshots. Yeah. Whenever someone makes it right behind you, he's like a foot back. You're like, all right, I gotta make this one too.
Yeah.
What is this? About 7, 8, maybe 9 feet?
Yeah, I'd say 8 or 9 feet. Gets it to go. It's a par frame there from the crew.
Par frame.
This is, I think, one of the toughest holes on the course. It's hole 5, 295 feet, and it is a tunnel shot the whole way. There's a Mando left of the tree there on the right to prevent you from just hyzering out into the open. But after you pass that, going right into the open is no problem. But you've got to keep it low, and you've got to throw your straightest shot you possibly can, which just unfortunately is not in my arsenal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with this this really low ceiling, you have to have a lot of trust in your arm and your disc, not to get nose up on it and get an early kick from these trees. Like Jacob said, right side's definitely more open. So if you do happen to fail a little bit, that's definitely the side to lean on. This left side is just so covered with trees that you're basically plank going up it.
Yeah, smart move by Brandon here to just avoid all of that and try to go around with a little Anheuser forehand. It doesn't quite do what he wanted it to do there, but he takes out all of the trees it could have hit along the way, and it was definitely a smart move. Austin's catches a guardian tree there at the very end, unfortunately.
I know. I just didn't quite have enough faith in myself on that one. I kind of cut it short and gave myself a longer putt than I would like to.
Devin wound up out there kind of on an island, and his upshot was good. Gets him about 10 feet.
Honestly, anything with a crosswind right now from that far on an upshot, that's pretty okay in my book.
Yeah, good run from Brandon there. You breaking out the straddle putt.
I thought I gave it enough. I was really excited. I thought I could save par, but just bouncing off the basket.
Austin can't quite get his to connect there.
Look at the trees in the background on this putt from. I think that's 3 in a row right off the basket.
That was a good run too. That one, just a little bit low. The wind pushed it down. You could see it just kind of fall out of the sky there, but that was
completely. No, it was a good run by him for sure. And then Brandon right here just lining it up, trying to finish it out for our card. And nothing but chains.
I really like his putt. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, I wish I putted like Brandon.
It's full commit. You can see he's balancing on his front foot. He gets everything he has into it and just puts it right down the middle.
As the group kind of taps in their bogeys here. That was a bogey frame, unfortunately. You don't want to see that after a par frame, but
no, that's nothing to write home about, is it?
No, but that's a tough hole. I've definitely seen worse and thrown worse on that hole. So after 9 holes, Jake, you are 3 over par. We've got Brandon at 5 over, Devin's at 6, and then Austin is at 7 to complete our front 9, if you will. And we'll get into the final 9, holes 6 through 14 on this next video. But I appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. Hope you had a good time watching it, and come back for more.
Yep. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you watching my first tournament. I hope to see you on the back 9. See ya.
And we've got just a couple, I'll mess with the audio here, but we want to thank everybody that helped sponsor and make this possible. You saw some photos of some of the volunteers that were putting out hay bales, and then here's some pictures that I got from Fidel Suarez, who's a member officer probably of the Stillwater Disc Golf Club. And he sent me over some of these pictures and just wanted to give some of these hole sponsors a shout out. Please support these businesses any way that you can, and thank them for helping make this possible. Not the coverage by any means, but the event itself, because other than the wind and things you couldn't affect with the weather, I thought it was a roaring success, and I was really happy about it.
Oh yeah, an incredibly well-ran tournament through and through, right from the very beginning. So just really great to see this tournament and how many people came to it. It was amazing. All
right, guys, I think that'll wrap it up, and we'll see you on the back 9.
See ya.